well, I don't know who's coming, but the rule applies to everybody. Yeah. No names. Don't ask me questions about specific names. You can say he. You can say them. But I want no names in this live or you will be muted. Go a little bit more. Okay. So, again, please no calling anybody out like Lori has pinned. Lori is my only mod. Sass, my longtime friend and original mod, and the one that you probably all know for when I used to do lives before, or me and my ex used to do lives. Sass would be in there modding. She died on May 20th of cancer, so Lori was the only one that she kind of respected to be a mod, so and Lori's a good friend of mine, so it made sense, but I really don't want any other mods, just out of, I don't know, it's just weird, but I just don't. So hopefully we don't need anybody and everybody's going to be super respectful. I know Sass is watching over me. Sorry for the kids in the back. She was my everything, keeping me sane during all of what you're going to hear. Even when I wanted to clap back, even when I wanted to defend myself, even when it was just crazy. She always helped me stay grounded and reminded me who I was and that I was better than that. And I hate that she's not here she really wanted to be a part of the court date. That was a big day for us, and she wasn't here. She died 9 days before it, so, but I know she's with us, so I'm just paying her respect for sure. Had to mention her. Okay, so we've got a few more people in here than what I anticipated. Okay, so we'll go over the rules again. There's no asking who. If you don't know who that I'm talking about, it's best that we keep it that way and we keep it more about domestic violence, abuse, everything that we go through, what to expect, and use it as a learning experience. The who doesn't matter. If you say a name in here, you will be muted. One thing I want to say too before I get started, and I have a little bit of a timeline to go by, I'm going to do my best because that's one reason I never go live, I never talk about it, because I don't want to ramble and I don't want to be emotional. But one thing I want to say, and I think it's important to hear, is that court is over, and when they finished court, there was nothing negative said. There was nothing negative. I was very pleased with that. I was at ease with that, so it sounds like they're letting it go too. And that's wonderful. So that was probably the best thing that could have happened. So I am not doing this to open anything back up. I am doing this live for me. I'm doing this for me, not for anybody else. I need the clarity to be out there for me. What people do with it is up to them. But they have let it go. This is not me reopening it. This is me showing respect to them letting it go. And I am going to do the same. But for a year and a half since the breakup, I have not been able to share what I went through, what that looked like. And there was a lot of slander. There was a lot of name calling. There was a lot of accusations. And I feel like being silent this long, dealing with that, then I have a right to use my voice to say, this wasn't true, this is what happened. And then my goal from this point on is to move on and never say another word about it. And I know people are going to take clips. I know that people are going to twist it. I've been dealing with that for years, and definitely the last year and a half. If they clip it, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I'm not going to look. I want to move on. I want to give everybody, including them, the opportunity to move on and move past it. Accountability has been taken. Whether or not you feel that it was the right accountability, the right consequences, that's not for you to decide. We were the two people involved in this, and we are okay with it, and that is all that matters. And I want to move forward. While we're doing this, it's important to me. Is there anybody in here that has been a victim of domestic violence, who is a survivor or a victim? Can you put a purple heart, just so I know? Because it's important to me to know that there's people in here that that's going to matter to, because I'm not doing this just for tea. I'm doing this for me, but I don't want a bunch of people in here just wanting information. That's not what this is about. This is my voice after being silent for so long, and I never spoke up about what really happened, why I stayed, what happened after court, all the allegations against me. I've never spoke about them. I defended myself once in a live when my abuse was made public 10 months after our breakup. Something that I plan to keep quiet. Verbal. Okay. And abuse is abuse, guys. It doesn't matter if it's verbal. And I guess that's where we'll start, because just to clear the record, there was only 5 physical times of physical violence. The rest was emotional and verbal. And definitely very, very hard. So one doesn't supersede the other. They're all awful. They all take a toll on you and your life, and they're awful. So don't try to minimize it by saying only, like I used to do. That's right, Heidi, don't say only. Okay, so again, one of the reasons there's a few reasons I'm doing this live, because I'm going to finally speak about what happened. Can you guys hear me with the radio? Should I turn it down? Thank you, Linda. Okay. So I started a new relationship back in 2021. I met them online. I made some bad decisions in not getting to know them, not spending a lot of time with them before I made long-term commitments. So I had been single for 7 years, and I thought, if I'm going to take a chance, I'll take one chance, and if it doesn't work out, it's not like I'm serial dating. So I did. Ella actually saw him on TikTok, and he was doing signing videos, and she just thought it was cool, and she learned a song and wanted me to tell him, and I wasn't going to tell him, but anyway, long story short, we did. I went to see him after talking to him online for a few weeks, and then he moved in a few weeks after that, moved all the way from Michigan to North Carolina. And I thought I had found the one, you know. That's what love bombing does. I'd never been love bombed before, so, you know, they say all the right things. They have all the same likes that you like, the dislikes that you like, the same kind of music, down to the love languages, and you just think you found your soulmate. And anything that happens that quickly, just don't trust it. Just don't trust it. And if it's meant to be, then you can take your time with that. I saw red flags in the beginning. There was one of the first red flags is where he called me a bitch in front of my daughter, in front of the kids. I left that situation. He apologized like crazy, apologized to me and in front of the children, apologized to the children for using that language. That's something my daughter had never seen. And I convinced myself that these were isolated incidents. There was another time where he was so angry at me, and this is probably within the first 4 months. 5 months, 4 or 5 months. There was another time that, and there wasn't a lot of verbal abuse at this point, other than the one. But then they would get very angry, and there was one point that they were so angry at me, they violently punched a refrigerator and shattered their hand in a million pieces. You know, realizing now, I mean, when they show aggression like that towards things, objects, I mean, that's a huge concern. I mean, that's a red flag, and I hadn't experienced that either before, so I just knew he didn't hit me, but his hand was shattered, and he had an online presence then, not near as large as it is now, but so he made up a story. I was involved in that he was pushing a refrigerator down the stairs and it fell on his hand. That's not what happened. He was angry and punched the refrigerator. And I should have taken heed at that point and realized that this is escalating. About a month after that, I was sitting on my daughter's bed. He was angry. I don't know what a lot of these arguments were about, and none of those really matter. It doesn't matter what you've done. It didn't matter what I did. Nobody deserves this. Nobody deserves it. But 3 months in, I was sitting on my daughter's bed trying to get away from him because he was angry and arguing, and he came in and I said something back. I don't know what it was, and I was never confrontational with him. I didn't get in his face and yell at him and call him names, ever. Never happened. Not that even if I had, that I would have deserved any of this treatment. I'm just kind of laying out the picture. I said something that he didn't agree with, or I wasn't willing to accept apologies, whatever it was, and then he came over and choked me on my daughter's bed. Nobody was home. No kids were home. He choked me for, I don't know how long it was, probably 20 seconds. I couldn't breathe. It scared me. I was just looking up at him, just in shock. He apologized, couldn't believe that he acted that way. He was sorry. Okay, so I have to be careful what I say, because I just got a warning. So he apologized that he was sorry, and then we spent 3 hours on the bathroom floor crying, holding each other. And what you'll, you know, if you're a victim or a survivor, you will understand that, as crazy as it sounds, those harsh, violent moments when there's a makeup, there's an apology, the love bombing starts, those are actually times where the trauma bond intensifies, because you feel more bonded to this person through that act of violence. And it just kind of starts the process all over. So that was another instance. Then there was, and I'm only really talking about the physical ones right now, because there was only about 5. And then there was a beach situation at the beach where there was constant accusations, there was screaming, there was degrading. I was getting slammed in a door, trying to shut the door to keep my grandchildren out, and my daughter out. So we had a best friend together. She was pushed out of the way and hurt on her ribs. All this happened in front of the children, and this is the first time that there's been an act of that in front of the children. And I was trying to get the children out of the room so they couldn't hear the horrible names that I was being called. You know, and at that point, right before that, I was headbutted, not where I needed medical attention or anything, but you could tell there was anger and aggression, and it was scary. And then he would chase me around the room. I'm not gonna cry. He would chase me around the room. This happened often, and I don't consider it the physical part, but I guess it was. This happened often, especially the last year, but this was one of the first times that happened, where he would run around and I would be putting my head down so I didn't have to like be nose to nose with him, and it was just, you know, running around the room chasing me, just kind of aggressively letting me feel like I was going to get hit, but didn't actually hit me. He was just trying to get in my face and wouldn't let me look away. So that was happening at the beach. And then I fell and I slipped and I was being slammed in the door because I was shutting it, he was opening it, or vice versa. And so I was bleeding, not from him specifically, but then I got away. I ran across the street. I passed out from just the chaos. It was just too much. Passed out, hit my head. Paramedics came, police came. He came down with my best friend. He was aggressive. They made a report of it, and they questioned me about abuse, and at that point he hadn't physically hit me. So I said, no, he's just angry, and he gets, you know, really verbal and scary when he's angry. I left. I went home. He stayed at the beach with my best friend, and I think this is 2024, I guess. He stayed at the beach. I came home, told my granddaughter not to say anything to my daughter about the incident. That, of course, caused major issues of conflict. So I didn't get to see my granddaughters for almost a year. Everybody else, when you're in abuse, sees it except for you. And by this point, I was realizing, slowly but surely I was realizing. But I came home and I packed everything up. I hired movers. I spent 3 days boxing and labeling everything for him and the kids, packing them towels, everything that they would need. I packed up everything, hired movers, paid $800, went and purchased a storage unit, had them put everything in the storage unit, labeled correctly, in order, so that it was as convenient as possible. But I needed to be done with this situation because I knew it was escalating. I knew it. But you know, during all these incidents, there is major affection, major love bombing, major I'm gonna change. After every breakup, it was, when we got back together, you know, true Christian, God revealed XYZ, didn't want to live anymore like this. He's gonna do right. Didn't want to lose me, didn't want to lose our life. You know, when you believe that, you do, because then for a couple weeks it's great. And I mean, there's so much more to it. I mean, you're invested, you know, you have things together, you have the kids, so giving up, I don't know. I don't know why I didn't then, when I should have. So he went to, he came and got his things, or he came back, tried to come back in. I wouldn't let him. I was not interested in pursuing the relationship anymore. This was July, or end of June, beginning of July of 2024. So he left, got his stuff out of the storage unit, drove to Michigan, went home. I thought, okay, that's the end of it. So there was a couple weeks before my birthday, July 17th. So my birthday is coming up. We're broke up again. I am assuming that this time it is for good. All the other breakups we had, I was assuming this time was for good. I mean, I packed up everything he owned and put it in storage unit, and he is in Michigan. So we did have some conversations. I was trying to explain that this was going to escalate. I was going to end up being, I don't know how to say it without getting a violation, but he was going to end up hurting me to the point where there was no coming back, if you get what I'm saying. So this was the best thing for both of us, you know, and it's not something I wanted, but it's something, if obviously he can't manage his emotions, I'm protecting both of us at this point. And so there was conversations, and part of these conversations were, you know, for my birthday, I was going to have a limo. My best friend paid for a limo. So I was going to have a limo and go out, and my best friend was his best friend. And I'm not going to go too much into that, but that was an issue later on with triangulation. And if you don't know about that, read about it and be aware of that. Unaliving is the word you could use. Okay, thank you, Kels. So yeah, so I was worried about being unalived and him spending the rest of his life in prison, and none of our children having parents. So that was the reason for the breakup. I mean, it was pretty simple. But But again, we were having some conversations, and I know there was many times, many breakups where can we at least be friends? And maybe in some relationships people can do that. I've always been able to do that, but with him I knew that I never wanted that. It was not going to happen. But I was trying to always make him feel better about the breakup. That's why I would talk to him. So he wasn't hurting. There was a lot of, I don't know what we can say about wanting to unalive themselves. There was definitely a few different times of that where I had guilt because I was like, no, don't do that. There was one breakup where I went back because there was drugs. The drugs were there. They almost overdosed, and my best friend called me and said he needed me, and I showed up. That was another breakup, and I took him back to our house, and he went through withdrawal, and he got better. And I had already lost my ex-husband at this point, my daughter's father, and I guess maybe they knew that I would never turn my back on anyone in that situation, ever. I don't care what the situation is. So there's always ways to pull you back in. There's always ways, and they always worked with me. And rugs. Okay, rugs. We say rugs. This is ridiculous. Okay, rugs over... how do you even communicate? So anyway, we were talking, and he wanted to go to the limo ride with me. He wanted to spend my birthday with me. And so I finally agreed. I didn't want him to, but then I thought, he's living in Michigan, he's going to fly up here. Okay. So he flew up here the night before at 10:30 at night. I went and picked him up. I'm going to try to go as quickly through this as possible because we didn't get started until 10 after, so I'm still on track. I picked him up the night before. Now, backtrack just a few weeks. While we were split up, we did have conversations. He was like, I know you're talking to somebody, and we'll go into everything outside of the physical abuse, but I did have a few conversations with an old friend of mine that I kind of dated years ago, and we reconnected just because I was tired of sitting in the house, and my ex was dating many other women at this point, and my best friend had shared that with me, so I knew that he was doing what single men do, right? So I was going to go out on a date to get out of the house, and we had a few conversations, all appropriate. Everything was appropriate. There was nothing inappropriate whatsoever. We didn't make the date yet. We were just talking about going to dinner. So, and my ex knew about that, and I said, well, I didn't go, and that was it, right? He was angry, but that was it. And then that morning, I picked him up from the airport, and then that morning, when I woke up, he was going through my phone. He was going through my phone through text messages. Now, out of respect, I deleted that text thread, but I didn't know that on your iPhone, has a deleted folder. Well, I didn't delete it from the deleted folder. He already knew about it, but I was also trying to be respectful and not keep it in my phone. But I was scrolling through that text message, and I woke up to him cursing me out, saying all these terrible things, and I'm not going to repeat what he called me, what he said about me. Number one, I don't want to relive it, and number two, it's not important, but it was extremely egregious, and I've never been talked to that way in my life, the way this person talked to me in my life, by any man. So he was screaming all those profanities. I was trying to explain, I didn't actually go out with him. You knew about this. Why are you so angry? I didn't even go out with him. And if I had, we were split up. It's okay to do that. But with this particular person, even if you're split up, whatever, you are his, and that's it, whether you're with him or not. And I'm not going to go into the threats and things that I heard right here in the spot I'm sitting, that I remembered not too long ago, and I thought, wow. But I'm not going to go into that because that's not important, but it was not healthy. So anyway, in his mind, I was cheating, and that's because I was talking to someone about a date. He scrolled through and saw an Instagram picture that he had sent me, the gentleman I was talking to, that said that's always been his favorite pictures, and we talked about how I had my lips done, just conversation, nothing inappropriate, and we were talking about dinner. And he saw that picture, which was, it's public, it's me holding a Smarties candy, so it's nothing, I remember that, and that's pretty much the last thing I remember. He picked up the phone and he threw it at me in a fit of rage. And you can't see it because I have a really good filter, but I have a scar from here to here. From that incident, it split my head open, knocked me unconscious. I have had post-concussion syndrome that has been life-altering ever since. And I guess I'll go into, you know, some of the reasons later, but yeah, so he thought he unalived me because he was over me for about 10 minutes on the video, calling me names, and well, maybe it wasn't 10 minutes, let me take that back, it was several minutes, screaming, calling me the worst names in the book, until he realized I wasn't moving. Yeah, it wasn't a car accident, I'll explain, I'll get to that. Until he saw I wasn't moving, and then he rolled me over. And the reason I know this is because there's a video of it, so I seen it. Now, he deleted the video a few months later when he stole my phone, thinking that the evidence was gone, or he was going to take it away. So, but anyway, he thought he unalived me. When he rolled me over, he saw the massive amounts of blood. He picked me up. He was on the bed trying, I don't know, he was screaming. And at that point, my daughter came downstairs. No, he brought me into the bathroom, put me in the shower because there was blood everywhere. And he's crying and screaming, you know, I guess trying to get me awake. I don't know. I mean, I can't really hear what he's saying on the video. And then my daughter comes down because she hears him scream when he thought I was unalived. No, Alicia, we're not going to talk about who it is. We're just talking about abuse and the justice system and survivors and victims and what we go through. And this is just my story that I have not shared in its entirety ever. And there was only one day that I even shared a little bit of it. So, but court is over, accountability has been taken, and we're moving on, but I have not yet been able to speak. So that's what this is about, if anybody is confused. And Lori or whoever, please feel free to recap why I'm doing this live without using names. But again, who it is isn't important. It's the principle, it's the story, it's the surviving. So anyway, he thought he unalived me. My daughter walked in. He looked at her, she looked at him. Later I find out that she knows that he hurt me. Later I find out that she has heard all the things that he has said to me. All the kids did. And I think when you're going through that, you're in denial. You think, oh, well, they're upstairs or asleep. They don't hear it, but they hear everything. They feel the eggshells, you know, you walking on eggshells, they see that. Liquid instead of, okay. Yeah, there was liquid coming out of my head. This is crazy to talk in code on here. But anyway, so I obviously came to, I was told, Ella, please get out. Mommy fell. I fell and hit my head. Everything's okay. Well, she knew we were arguing, so I had told her that, you know, I was running from him because she had seen that before. Me running from him, and him scaring me. So she believed it. I thought. She didn't, but I thought. She wanted to know where it happened, so I went in there and showed her. This is after I got out of the hospital, but anyway, Linda was outside. She was there that morning. When it happened, I immediately I called my best friend on FaceTime, and she's screaming with other people in the room that know what happened. She's screaming, you know, what did you do? What did you do? And he was like, I didn't mean to. I meant to hit the wall. So from the very beginning, he says he meant to hit the wall. Looking back, I know for a fact that that was meant to be thrown at my face. I know that now, especially hearing past victims' stories of the same person. So I was very fortunate. Let's just say that I was very, very fortunate. I've had other women come forward and apologize for not speaking up and putting it on record. Because if they had, they don't think that I would have been hurt. So that is why it's so important to speak up. I was not the first victim, not even close. There was many others. Some were in relationships with him and some weren't. But there were other victims, and I'm just going to leave it at that did not speak up, and some that did, but it didn't make it to court. Some that made it to court, but they were buried into plea bargains and things like that. And those things happen. It's part of the legal system. Hold on one second. I lost my timeline. So, anyway, after this incident, I'm awake. I'm getting ready to go to the hospital. Linda's waiting outside. She went and grabbed Ella to take her somewhere because we knew I had to go to the ER. Is ER okay to say? Oh, Paula. Be prepared. Be prepared. It's going to be hard, and your outcome might not be what you want. What does yes mean? Why is everybody saying yes? I don't know. So, where was I? Okay, so then he panics after Ella's gone in the car with Linda. I don't know where did you go? Did you go Starbucks? I don't even know where you went. I have no idea. I need to hit my vape and not get... Okay, so... Anyway, he started screaming he wanted the pew-pew because we had one of those. He wanted the pew-pew because he wanted to unalive himself because he didn't want to go to prison. And in that moment, I'm gushing liquid. And I had never been through anything like that, you guys. The only person that's ever really hit me was my mother from years of abuse as a child. No, I take that back. I have had another man hit me, but I left him and never went back, ever. But anyway, that's beside the point. I never dealt with an abusive relationship, so this was my first. And as he's saying that, I see the fear in his eyes. I'm gushing blood. I call my work and tell them that I fell. I've already told my daughter I fell. I told him, you're not going to go. We'll say it was an accident, and he's saying that it was, but he knew that the police, I don't know that, but he knows the police are going to know what happened because he was angry. He knows it's domestic violence. He's been in this situation many times before. This was not their first. It was my first. So I'm already humiliated that the man that is supposed to love me and protect me has not hurt me just one time, but several times. And now, and I can't talk about when I was sitting in the shower because, well, it might be just a scar for everybody else looking. I thought my life was over. I thought my life was over. The warm liquids seeping down my face, all over me. My brain wasn't right, and I guess that's because I had such a bad concussion. Things weren't processing, things were moving. I thought I was gone, and that it must be what it feels like to take your last breath, because I had those thoughts of everything. And it absolutely could have unalived me. There's no doubt about it, and there was fear of me being unalive after that for aneurysms and all types of things. So, and that could even still happen down the road. And if that does happen and it's related to this, then I would want that person to be 100% accountable, for sure. No doubt about it. So hopefully I stay safe and I stay healthy. But yes, that absolutely could have unalived me, and it was the scariest moment in my entire life. So I called work. This is my birthday. this was my 47th birthday. I called my work and told them that I had fallen, and I was on my way to the ER, and I guess she thought it was just a little fall. Well, it wasn't. And then we went to the ER, and I did say that, you know, we'll just say it was an accident, that I fell, because he was so terrified he would go to prison. And in that moment, when you're dealing with that, like, I don't know. I don't have a reason. I don't have an excuse. And honestly, I don't need one. I just went through something extremely traumatic, and I was doing the best that I could to survive in the moment. And I don't owe anybody an excuse of why I agreed to say it was just an accident. Also, all victims, 90% of them, deny what happened, lie about what happened, make excuses about what happened for a variety of reasons, you know? And you don't see it while you're in it. So let me just pause for a minute, okay? Because then there's only one more physical incident, and then we're going to go into the other things. But you don't see it until you're in it. So if you have family and friends telling you that something's not right, what's going on, why are you so distant? If your significant other doesn't like anybody that you're around, and I was never told that I can't go hang out with somebody. I was never told I was never controlled in that way. But I knew issues and arguments always arose from it. So that's how that coercive control happens. That's how it happens. You control it to avoid escalation. Okay, so that is what that is, and I didn't see it. So believe your family and friends if they have concerns about your relationship, if they have concerns about your behaviors, believe them. You know, understand that they are just loving you. They're watching you walk on eggshells. They're watching you avoid them in all situations because you don't want to trigger anything. They're seeing it. They recognize it. I was just not the same person. By the time this incident happened, I was almost a shell of a person. After this happened, I was a complete shell of a person. I also wanted to unalive myself. But it wasn't from the physical, it was from the emotional. So, after that, so that was July 17th, okay? Flew to Michigan. After that, we stayed together. Can y'all still hear me? Because I was restricted for 10 minutes. Okay, so nobody will be able to come into the live for 10 minutes. Okay, so I was restricted. So this live is getting reported over and over and over, apparently. You know, that's sad because women, it's sad. It's sad that it's being reported because this is something that women need to hear. They need to hear other women speaking up. They need to see women being strong enough to stand up. And when I tell you about the post-separation abuse, that was awful. That was awful. And that is something that most women are not prepared for. I was worried about it, but I didn't think it would be this significant. So I'm not going to mention any more about the physical except for one last incident. So that was my birthday, July 17th. And on August 8th, I was pinned down to a counter and told that they wanted to hit me in the face so bad. And I still had stitches in my face. And now I have really saggy arms from surgery or weight loss surgery. So I have hanging skin, like it's the flabby arms, you know. So he grabbed my shirt or my arm. Well, he grabbed my whole arm, not just my shirt. He said, I thought I grabbed your shirt. But he was angry, telling me that he wanted to punch me in my face. So obviously, he knew he was hurting me. So I took pictures of those bruises. And I remember it was in a rainy car. That when I took the picture, it was in the one that I gave the detectives. It was And I forgot about that incident. I forgot all about that incident until I was going through trying to find proof of dates of when things happened, because I didn't document anything. And that's why I'm such an advocate for document. Even if you don't need it, document it. Document it. Fortunately for me, I had tons of documentation and dates and screenshots and pictures and a lot of video. But a lot of women don't get that. A lot of women don't get that. So that was on August 8th. My face was just busted open on July 17th. So we can see how the behavior is not changing. I could see that it's not changing. And then, so I was told that they wanted to hit me, but they didn't physically hit me. They just scared me half to death. I didn't mean to say that word. TikTok. So anyway, I've got kids going to school. I've got EOGs happening. I've got a job. I've got a new job. You know, I was starting a new job. I had already lost my old job because of all the online drama. Okay. They were sharing my picture of my face that I shared with my boss. They were judging me, knowing that my partner was the way he was, and I was just lying to everybody. It became too much, and I was released with severance. But the women in the office were really catty and talking about me, and HR was sharing private photos that I shared for, you know, medical purposes for me being out of work. So, I mean, it affected every part of my life, you guys. Every freaking part. So, right when I left that job, I had already had another one. I already had another one the same day. So, the same day I had a new position. So, that is God. I was already interviewing and doing everything that I could to get out of that situation. And I now have the most amazing work family that I could ever ask for, and they helped me get where I am today. They helped me leave, and they supported me 1000%. I won't go into that, but when this next incident happened, I was told, whatever you need to do, if you need to work remote, if you need to take time off, whatever you need to do to remain safe and get out of this situation, your employer is here for you. Whatever you need to do. And they did that. They did that. God did that. I am forever grateful for this company. So as much as I work, Lori, you know, Linda, you know, when I'm like, I gotta work, I gotta take this call, I'm still working at night, it is because I love these people. I love these people who helped save my life, and they will forever have my loyalty. Forever. And I wish there were more employers out there like that. But anyway, sorry, that was not included in my timeline. But it just reminded me, I haven't thought about that in a while, and that was God. I already had a job offer the same day I lost my job over this. And this job helped me get out of this situation. One of the things that most of you don't know about me because of all the slander and all the craziness you've heard is stability is so important to me. So, you know, part of the reason I didn't leave is because I didn't want people to know. I didn't want it to affect my job. I didn't want to have to, you know, call into work today because I was nervous or, you know, worried about the kids or whatever the situation. I didn't want to jeopardize my job because, contrary to what people might think, I wasn't with them for the money. I do very well for myself. I have been successful. I've never relied on a man for anything, and I never will. So, but I do rely on me, and making crazy decisions of calling into work because I wasn't, you know, I just avoided things escalating so that it didn't affect my job. It didn't affect the kids. So anyway, I'm off on a tangent. Lori, are you texting me? You are, hold on. Okay. Got it. I miss my sass too. No stabs at you, Lori, I love you, but you know what I mean. She would do that, and that just made me think of her. So the counter incident was the last incident, and then there was another situation where everyone has seen it online. So let's go ahead and talk about that day. Okay, so my forehead situation has already happened, all right? It's already happened. That was July 17th on my birthday. The new charge, November 2nd, and I want to clear this up. So, are you okay? Oh, they're laughing. I thought they were. The new charge came during a breakup. Yeah, the new charge came during a breakup. We had been broken up for a few more weeks. He showed up, as you can hear from the video that Connie shared, the audio that Connie shared. He showed up. I had been at the Comedy Zone the night before. Most of the time when we broke up, I would just stay at home and cry. I am not in a place to be dating, okay? So most of the time I was at home crying. So at this point I was like, okay, I'm tired of sitting home crying. I'm going to go out to Comedy Zone with myself because I've alienated most of my friends, right? So you don't have tons of friends. You don't have a ton of people to reach out to. I didn't want to reach out to half of them because it's like, I told you so. I've been trying to tell you, right? So you're embarrassed. You're embarrassed, and it's understandable. And I'm not beating myself up for that anymore. Healing has brought me to a beautiful place, let me tell you. And that's where I'm ready to be honest. And now that I can be, I felt like I deserved this live for myself. Not for anybody else, but for me. So that day that you hear on the video that Connie shared, I had just woken up. I had went to the Comedy Zone by myself. I got home about 1:30. The day before, my car was doing crazy things, or the whole week before, because I'm a ditzy blonde. We're not going to talk about what was really wrong with my car. But anyway, my car was jerking off the side of the road, doing all these crazy things. And so I took it to the dealership, and they gave me a rental while they looked into the issues because it wasn't safe. Thank you, Sunshine. They looked into it because it wasn't safe, and they gave me a rental. So I'm at home. Now, at this point, he drives by my house. He's wanting to make sure that there is no man at my house, and we're going to get into that. That was just the physical part. Those few incidents were just the physical. But he always thought somebody was talking to me. If we split up, like I said, I was his. Whether we were split up or not, that I was territory. And I'm understanding that now more than ever. So he wanted to make sure that nobody was here. But he saw a car that was not mine. And when he drove by that morning, I'm assuming is what my best friend said, and started knocking on the door. Hold on one second. Yes?
Hey, we're going outside.
Why? No, it's too late.
We want to play.
No, you're not going to play outside. Devin got bit by a copperhead. You can't, I don't trust it, and it's that time of year. No, no, no.
Okay.
Inside. Don't be mad. Sorry guys. I want to play outside at night, and it's pitch dark, and it's 10 o'clock at night. You can't see snakes, and I live on a creek. And we've already had snake bites here. So, no. If you can't see it, you're not stepping in it. So, anyway, he shows up. He's banging on the door at 7 o'clock in the morning. I don't have any clothes on. I was just waking up from the bed. I'm on the phone with my best friend. I'm like, he's here. And she was like, I'm sorry I didn't get to warn you. He's banging on the door. First, he's nice. He just wants to talk to his cat. I mean, y'all heard it. I don't need... he was nice, but then he got nasty again, and I knew I wasn't going to open that door. I knew I wasn't going to open that door because I didn't want another opportunity for escalation or for me to cave, you know? So, can everybody still hear me? There's still a bunch of people in here. Oh, y'all are just respectfully listening to me and not asking a bunch of questions. That's about to make me cry. because I am feeling really heard right now. So thank you. Thank you to everybody for being so respectful and not being ugly and just truly, truly just listening to me. So, and we're almost to the other part, and then I'm only going to go on till 10:30, but I'm going to try to rush through the rest of this. But this part is important because it's one of the charges, okay? And then we're going to get into everything else. So, and what I really wanted to talk about versus specifics of these incidents, and I've tried not to put too much detail into it, but to let you know the significance of the physical abuse. Was 5 times. So what you're hearing is that, he beat me up regularly. It wasn't me. I know that's happened to others that they've been with, but it wasn't me that was consistent physically abused. So you see the video. He breaks down the door. Okay, I know people say I was just dramatic and I shouldn't have screamed that loud. This is a huge man, number one, and the strongest man I've ever met in my entire life. Okay. He's already, my face had already been busted open, bashed open, whatever you want to call it. I almost got unalived. So there was fear there. There was fear when this person was not, in my experience, they were not emotionally regulated at all and had no control in certain situations. I did feel the whole time that they loved me to their capacity, for sure. No doubt about it. I felt it. But they were unable to emotionally regulate themselves. At any cost, it couldn't happen. So that's why I ended the relationship every time I ended it, because I just knew that one day I would be unalived, and that was my reason, and I explained it to them. So they were clear on that as well. I didn't make up excuses. That was my excuse, and it was valid. But when I didn't answer the door, he was like, somebody's out. Whose car is this, cat? And I said, I'll unlock it so you can open it up and see the dealership papers for the rental car in the front seat. Oh, well, I don't care about the car, cat. I just want my cat back. And then I say, no, I love you, but you're a narcissist and you don't see it. And that's when he busted down the door. Broke the frame off. I mean, everything. And of course I screamed. I was terrified. And then he tried to grab me, not to hurt me, I don't think. I think he just wanted to hold me, but you just terrorized me. So, and that was the original charge, breaking and entering with intent to terrorize. Because right before he broke down the door, I called the police in a panic and I said, he's going to unalive me. I was panicked. I was panicked. He didn't, and I ran outside as soon as and the reason the camera breaks up is because he busted the door. So the Ring camera that was connected to the door just was flickering. And then you see me outside. He did not harm me that day physically. And there's a lot of people saying no, the way that you heard him speak to me in that moment was how he spoke to me all the time when he was angry in the last year of our relationship. So that should give you an idea of some of the things that he said and called me consistently whenever he was angry. Now, when he was not angry, and that's why a lot of women stay. When they were not, and we were cuddling on the couch, we were laughing, listening to music, we were talking and hanging out and doing things together and living life together, and it was very intimate and very affectionate. So in those moments, everything's okay. So you get a few weeks of that, and then you get these things, and then you have your whole lives built around this. So it's not as easy as what people make it seem like. You had a reason to do what you did. Thank you. But I called the police and they came out, and he left when obviously you heard when he was screaming the last bit of profanity towards me. I was like, okay, because I never, ever instigated it. I did everything in my power to de-escalate the situation. Okay, are you leaving now? Okay, are you leaving now? That was all I said. That's what I usually said, or I just left. I had I had clothes and work clothes in the tire well of my spare tire for my car. I had Ella's bags. She also had a bag upstairs that we kept, and we probably won't even talk about that. But I usually left. But anyway, he left this time, and I called the police, and the police came. He had already left, and they wanted to see the Ring camera, so I showed them the Ring camera. They said that, you know, you're a victim of domestic violence, and we need to see the video. We need to know what happened. I told them, and I didn't realize that they were going to press charges with or without me. They wanted the video. I wouldn't give it to them. Then they said that they were going to seize my phone if I didn't give them the video, so I gave them the video. So that was it. They left, and they charged him with a bunch of charges. He did not hit me that day, but it was breaking and entering with intent to terrorize. There was a few other charges, crime of domestic violence. And I guess they use that when there's just, they know it's domestic violence related, but there wasn't an assault. I don't know. Anyway, he left. This was the only time that I ever sought him out. When my best friend told me that he was saying that he was going to do 25 years. His mom was saying, why did you do that? He's going to do 25 years. I panicked because he didn't actually hit me. So I went to him, and I was like, okay, didn't want to be back together. That was not my plan, but I would let them know that, you know, I'd see if I can get them to drop the charges. And then I found out that they were pressing them. It wasn't me. So I did an affidavit, and I know you've heard them talk about it, that I did an affidavit, and I lied. I absolutely did, because I thought he was going to go to prison for 25 years. I found the attorney that he has now, so I know how good she is. And the DA refused to drop the charges completely, even with my affidavit. I am so thankful for that. I'm so thankful for that he didn't drop them completely. We were still living together, or he moved back in because it would look good for court. And of course, we ended up being together. Again, but I told myself, if this ever happened again, if there was ever another incident where he put his hands on me, that was it, and I would not cave. And by this point, my daughter had come to me and acknowledged that she knew I was being abused. She was scared. She knew what was happening, and I promised her that we would leave, or he would leave. But the one thing that we weren't going to do anymore was leave our home. We would have to get it to the point where, you know, I said, you're going to start hearing things that you are not used to hearing, you know, because when I don't leave, it will escalate. And so anyway, we made that pact, me and my little girl, and my best friend knew too. She knew that we were just waiting for the next incident. You know, when they arrested him for that, they put him on kind of like a bond condition until court, which was in February. And on January 25th, he put his hands on me for the last time. He did something unforgivable 2 days before this, and I went upstairs to sleep in my daughter's bed. And that morning, he was standing over me, raising Cain, saying that I was talking to men. And I said, no, I just didn't want to sleep in the bed with you. That started a whole thing. There was always accusations. And anyway, he hit my hand with my phone, and I turned around and I went to dial 911. And he said, please don't, because at this point he's under bond conditions. He says, please don't. And I said, then get the hell out of my house and don't ever come back. And I didn't say hell. Probably one of the first time I ever cussed at him like that, in that kind of situation. So told him to get out of my house because he knew I was about to call the police. And from that point on, January 25th, 2025 is when I took my life back. I never allowed any of the tactics to work. And thankfully I had my best friend at the time, which, you know, I had to end that relationship in May. This was January 25th. I ended that relationship in May. But hold on. Okay. But there was gifts, there was cookies, there was all these things. And then we had court. So we broke up on January 25th, and then we had court on February 7th. I've got to talk fast. We had court on February 7th. We were no longer together at this point. February 7th, that's when the DA decided he wasn't going to drop the charges completely. It would be domestic criminal trespass, which is a domestic violence charge. It's labeled domestic violence, and it's the initial case that all these are attached to. So it is domestic violence, trust me. For all the people questioning, oh, well, these don't say it, those don't say it, we'll get into that. But the original case was from when he broke down the door, the video that you saw, and it is domestic violence. It is a personal relationship, intimate personal relationship. It does say it on the court documents, and I recommend that everybody read those documents if you have any concerns. Okay, so he was then put on 12 months of unsupervised probation, which I did say that's okay, because that way he can go back to Michigan. But I didn't have a say in what the charges were, what the punishment was. I had no say in any of that. I didn't recant my affidavit, even though we weren't together. I just wanted it to be done. Okay, I wanted it done. Go to Michigan, do whatever you got to do. I just did not want to ever put myself in that situation again. I was kind of at that point thinking maybe, the kids would be able to reach out to me. I didn't know. These questions came right at me on the day of court. I didn't have any dialogue with the DA or anything prior to this. I didn't have any communication. They didn't know my history or my story. They didn't know anything. Okay, nobody knew anything as far as the court goes. So he's on unsupervised probation, but instead of moving to Michigan, he moves 4 miles away from me. No, 0.4 miles away from me, literally. The drive-bys continued even the same day of court. Constant drive-bys. I'm not going to go into a bunch of stuff, but the stalking charge, constant drive, and this is the post-abuse separation that people need to be aware of. What's going on? So there was cookies being sent. There was Mother's Day. Ella was sick, and my best friend told him that Ella was sick, so he sent me and her soup and food. It wasn't just her, it was 2 of everything. So it was to me. He sent cookies, wine, bears, a few text messages is I'm letting it go now. I hope you're happy. No hard feelings, which I didn't say anything to him. And then finally I was like, okay. And then one of the gifts I did respond with very clear, I do not want any contact. I appreciate the gifts. Thank you for not being mean. But I can no longer handle the abuse. That was the extent of my contact to him. Then he would contact Ella, and he would say things like, your mom's out finding another man. Your mom's out finding you another daddy. So she called me upset. And this happened to be in March, when Ella's dad had passed 2 years prior to that, or a year prior to that, or 2 years prior to that. It was his anniversary, pretty much, around that time frame. Just very insensitive, and getting my daughter riled up. And she would text him back and say, that's not true. I just talked to mom. She's at home. So it's manipulation of a child. Valentine's Day, I love you both. I wish I could be there. I miss whatever both of you have. I love your mom. Tell your mom to call me on March 31st. So there's constant communication that was not reciprocated by me. And then the drive-bys continued. Then there was an incident. So this all kind of goes into the stalking. And then there was also videos being made too that were inciting his large following of 700,000 or 1 million followers to let them feel like I was after him, I was following him, I was putting people in his life, I was doing all these things, and I wasn't doing any of those things. I wanted to stay away from him. my best friend was sharing a lot of some of the terrible behaviors that were going on, just kind of reconfirming why I was glad that I was not in that position, and kind of helping me keep strong so I didn't cave, because they would do sad songs and make me think of them. Like any of the music you hear, or that I heard, I knew what was for me and what wasn't. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything. But I knew what was for me, and that would pull at my heartstrings, and they knew that. But I was able to hear a lot of the not good things that were happening while we were separated, that just kind of kept me strong and reminded me of I'm making the right decision. And yes, it's going to hurt, but this is what needs to happen. And then he did show up to a place I was at and grabbed me, broke my bra. There was witnesses. 2 ex-police officers were in the place I was at. It was a tavern. I was watching live music because I love live music. So he showed up there. And then, and I don't want to get too detailed. Then there was some suicidal threats, or them unaliving themselves. And so I did reach out after I left the place. I just said, I'll meet you somewhere public and we'll figure out a way for you to be able to handle this in a safe way, because we just cannot be together. We just can't. And you know, that happens often too, where victims are felt, you know, they feel guilty, you know, that what if something happens? And I've talked to several in my group that have experienced that. So that's one of the other few times I reached out. And then when that was said to my daughter, I said, please do not say that to her again. Don't talk to her. Leave us alone. That is enough. That is not putting, we just can't do it. Just stop. Just stop. And then on February 23rd, where you see that other charge, breaking and entering, he came by, saw my friend's truck who was outside, a female, but I guess it looked like a male because it was maybe her boyfriend's. I don't know. But we rode somewhere together to go get my daughter, and he rode by in one of the drive-bys. And that's the other thing. I didn't have people at my house because there's no way. No way. Because he would have come in. I mean, it would have been, there's no emotional regulation. So that is fear in itself of being in your own home, even when you've already separated. So that happened. And then he came in my home when I was gone because I have the video of it. I didn't know he had been in my home until the next situation happened. So he had come in my house, searched my bedroom, searched my daughter's room, went upstairs, came out, screaming, banging, and hollering on the window and the doors, kicking my friend's truck. We decided not to push that envelope, but, you know, doing all these things, and I don't even know he's here. So I come home with her, and Ella jumps out of the car, and I have to run in first, and then she's coming out, and immediately he pulls up behind us. He comes barreling over. He had been waiting in lie down the road for me to return. Not appropriate again. So all these situations where I couldn't even live in my own home comfortably. Never once did I ride by their house, even though they were 0.4 miles away. The only time I, got with a best friend to say, where is he, is when I wanted to make sure that he wasn't near me on my way home. And she would say, you're safe, he's at home, or he's in Durham, or he's here. And I knew I was good. And so if there was a time that he was going away for the weekend, she would tell me, and I would feel so good that he was gone for the weekend. I mean, that's the kind of life I was living. And then when that stopped, and again, I'm going to say this again, there was no contact from me to him. None. Other than the few times I shared. Leave me alone. That is why there's a stalking charge. Okay, so contrary to what online seems to say, that I was contacting him, that I was doing all these things, that no, because if that were the case, it wouldn't be stalking. Stalking is officially several proven, and it's very hard to even charge, let alone convict, but because most people don't have the evidence that I had. So consistent, unwanted behavior, causing fear, anxiety, stress, unwanted. If I'm contacting him and communicating with him, that's mutual. There was no mutual. Okay, I was staying strong. Was I hurting? Yes. Did I want him back? 100%. Was I still sick with trauma bond and cognitive dissonance? Absolutely. Was I aware of it? 100%. So I kept myself strong. I kept watching the video of my face. I kept looking at the pictures. I kept rereading or re-listening to the voicemails and the videos and all of the abuse. Absolutely, to keep me strong and to remind me during my weak moments, everything that I tell women on my video, I did that for myself, and that kept me strong. Did I want to go back? Absolutely. Absolutely. And most women are going to want to, and I think that's why it's so important to talk about it. So anyway, that charge was there. He was on unsupervised probation. So these new charges now, well, they're not charges yet, right? So, sorry, I'm getting confused. So he breaks into my house, searches my house, waits up the road for me to come back, wanting to know whose truck that was, okay? So I can promise you I had no dating experience during this last year and a half. Non-existent, because whoever it was, I would fear for them. 100%. So then, then March 1st is when he shows up at the place I was at. So that happened a couple weeks after that. And then Mother's Day, he was sending gifts. He sent flowers, bears, food. He sent a variety of things, okay? But then in June, I do a post on June 9th that only my best friend can see. I had already ended my relationship with her because there was triangulation going on there where things were being... I have to be careful with this one. People were being misled to believe that I maybe wanted that person back in my life, or I wanted communication. And I think that person made decisions based on that. And I also think that things were said about me to make that person feel like I was trying to harm them or follow them or hurt them. And none of that was happening. So, and I hate that I had to say that just now because I really didn't want to, but I did. That's really a lot of what was happening. That third person was inciting someone who wasn't mentally stable to believe things, who was already delusional in my experiences. From what I experienced, they were already very susceptible, and someone sharing things that weren't true to make them think certain things, it's just not healthy and outright dangerous, honestly, knowing that I was leaving a situation of abuse and knowing that that person was volatile and scary, only when they were not regulated, angry, right? So I cut that relationship out. So in June, I posted on Facebook, where I knew everybody was watching every move I made, and on that side, that I was going to go to the police. I had been at the police department all day, obviously violating someone's probation, even if it's unsupervised. Well, the 3 people that were able to see that post, which I knew they were going to be able to see it, I guess fear was instilled, and 3 days later, he packed up and moved to Texas. And that's where I was able to breathe. I was able to breathe again. Okay. I stopped communicating with the third party. I shut them out, and I did send a text message. The text message that everyone is talking about, that, hey, the one where she's trying to make me go against you, that text message, we can use that and that'll set me free. Well, that message was very long, and it was initiated by me. The only one that was initiated, there was 4 in a year and a half that were sent by me. 4 communications from me to him. 4. Okay? 4. And all of them, every single one of them, said, I don't want this. I want it to stop. Every single message. Okay? So there's no back and forth. There's no Kat wants to be with him. Kat does not. Okay? Kat has been very strong And did I? Yes. Did he know that? No. You know, you're gonna feel those feelings, but you have to push past them because it will pass. That's not love, sweetheart. It's a trauma bond. It's a trauma bond. But I pushed through it. So that text message that I sent May 29th, for my evidence, May 29th, described the situation. I think this person is escalating you. I think they're making you fearful. I think they're misleading you. They're certainly misleading me and sharing all your information, what I thought to keep me strong and keep me away. I'm not real sure why that's happening, but it stops. Today it stops. That person will no longer be in contact with me ever, and never have I ever. So September 23rd of 25 at 7:30, right when him and Connie broke up, I got a missed call from my ex-best friend on my, I don't know what was going on. Did not answer. I did share that with the detectives just to kind of reiterate that there was no contact from me. But anyway, so they moved to Texas, and the abuse continued online. Online it continued. You all have heard about me being a raging alcoholic. I hardly ever drink, you guys. Hardly ever drink. The Xanax comments that some of the groups are talking about, I've had a prescription for 10 Xanax for the past 2 years. When I went to Texas, we had some issues there too, and my nerves were shot. And my friend, my best friend then, said, you know, that someone else that was there, a friend of hers, had some, and I took a quarter of a quarter because I can't take very much. Okay. So I have zero tolerance. Anybody in my life can tell you, Martina's probably asleep right now, but she can tell you, we go out and have a girls' night and try to have a drink, and I drink one and I am gone. So I have zero tolerance. Never have. I'm just not a big drinker. I don't do any drugs or rugs. I don't do any rugs. So yeah, so none of that is true either. But I've had to deal with all the slander that has happened, that I was a cheater and a liar, and I was out to pew them. I was infiltrating people in their life, putting people in none of that is true, you guys. None of it was true, and I sat here silent. I ended that relationship, and I was willing to just let it go. Even the breaking into my house, the driving by, everything that was violating the initial unsupervised probation order, okay? Because there was a no contact order in that situation too. So, and I don't know if this is making any sense to you guys. I only got a few more minutes because I'm not going to go on for hours. So yeah, that's it. Continued and continued and continued and continued, and then finally I didn't say anything. Okay, I didn't turn him in. I didn't do any of that. I just thought that it would eventually go away. Okay, I knew when I made that post in June that it would scare them to want to leave and control themselves and not ride by anymore and not do those things, and it did. They left. Okay, and I thought, okay, that's the end of it. But no. I mean, then I got rants using my full name, saying that I'm a drunk, and videos that, you know, doing live saying you can stay at the tavern and get shit-faced or whatever, and hide liquor in your liquor cabinets, and he's doing this on a live. Okay, I hadn't posted yet, but I guess my best friend had, you know, shared my location with him, unbeknownst to me, that I was at a tavern. I'm assuming, I don't know, but somehow he knew I was at a tavern, so either he followed me or someone told him. But I was there doing a fundraiser, cancer fundraiser with my daughter. It was a Sensi party, and it was during the day on a Saturday. But people were being misled to believe that I was a raging alcoholic and I was out to get them. And I was doing all these things. And then a few minutes later, or 2 hours later, I posted pictures of me at the cancer fundraiser with my daughter. Innocently making, you remember that, Lisa? Okay, so, and do I come forward and say anything? And no, I stay silent. I stayed silent all the way up until October, when Connie went live and talked about the abuse to my face and his narrative on how that happened. And me having my ex-husband there, who had already since passed away. So that wasn't true. And we know, I just told you the truth about that day, what happened. There was no man in my house. He didn't catch anybody in my house. And even if he had, no one deserves to get their face busted open. But all that was lies, and I still stayed quiet. I still stayed quiet, as usual. And when she came forward about my abuse, and she was talking about the situation where she had been in the car, or been in her house, and he thought someone was in the house. Same thing he thought with me constantly. I was appalled, I was angry, and I had already had 10 months of hell, you guys. 10 months of being quiet, 10 months of hell, 10 months of me realizing this man is not going to stop. He is not going to leave me alone. And by the way, that message that I sent to my ex-best friend and the other 3 messages that I sent, all said, and messages from my best friend to them, that if you don't stop, I'm going to turn you in. If you don't stop, I'm going to file charges. If you don't stop, I'm going to violate your probation. Okay? So it was very clear. But I can only make 10 months of threats and nothing happened, and it wasn't stopping. It wasn't stopping. Okay? So after 10 months of being quiet, having all of you believe I'm a raging alcoholic, and obviously if you see my social media and my interactions with my family and my children and my best friend, if I'm a raging alcoholic, I think it would show that I wouldn't have a career. I wouldn't have, well, I don't know, maybe they do, I don't know. But that's not me. I'm very faith-based. I'm very kind. I never slander anybody. I never go on here and say mean things about anybody, ever. Matter of fact, I feel somewhat not happy about doing this live today, because I feel like he has let it go. He got out of jail on Thursday or Wednesday or whatever it was. He got out of jail and he didn't start slamming me. And yes, it's in the probation that he can't mention me directly or indirectly. But, you know, if it's not ugly, I'm not policing anybody, okay? I just don't want any more slander. I don't want any more angriness. I don't want any more talking about me, spreading lies and making insinuations. I don't want them doing that, okay? So then that's a violation. To me, that's where the violation is. You know, if to me, I think that they sounded like they were really moving past it and letting it go and took accountability. Now we're going to get into real quick. So, Lori, I'm sorry, this is going to be a 2-hour live. I can't help it because I need 30 more minutes to explain the charges. Are you afraid? No, I'm not afraid. I'm cautious because I don't know the mental, you know, part of the reason that I was so concerned was the emotional, just not being able to emotionally regulate. So that was pretty scary. But no, they don't even live in the state, but I've never really talked about it. So I'm talking about it now. So, the slander continued. Connie came out and talked about what happened. I realized this was not stopping. And then on top of that, and everybody knows the story about Martina. On top of that, he starts doing videos to passively aggressively threaten her, make her uncomfortable, bully her, you know, talking about her full name, talking about the city she lives in. Maybe he should do a shout out. Then he starts posting pictures of me and Connie, and we haven't been with this guy, me and Martina, it's been 6-7 months. Me even longer. I have no reason to be in a video. And the judge even told, I don't need to be in a video. Okay? You do not need to talk about her. There is no reason for you to talk about her. That was the words from my judge, from the judge in my case, in his case. Okay, so that is very strict. There's no reason to mention me. Well, there wasn't then either, but I was mentioned. And again, it's a form of post-separation abuse. I mean, it's abuse. And it wasn't stopping. So at that point, I just violated his probation. This is before the Martina thing. When Connie came forward, I was in the process of, okay, now I need to do something. And then I started the process. First violating probation, and then the more they heard of my evidence, the more they're like, this is way beyond a probation violation. These are new charges. This is stalking. This is harassment. This is this. And, as much as the hate group hates me, they were very gracious and gave me, videos and things that I needed that I did turn in, that people think I did not turn in. I turned in every bit of evidence that I had. I cooperated fully. Now, was I slow moving in that? Yes. I will admit that. Did I hold back a little bit in the beginning? Because I was scared of what might happen. Because my goal was never maximum punishment. So I did hold back some because I was like, I don't want to do this yet. I'm telling you this is what I was telling the detectives. I'm telling you this, but I don't want to move forward yet. I want to know what the possible outcome could be. I just want it to stop. I just want it to be enough to stop. I love their kids, and I cared about their families, and this person. I'll just be honest. This person, I care about this person in general. Not in a, I'm in love with them. Not in a, I wish I could be back with them. But I care about this person in the way that I want them to get help. And I want them to not harm anybody else. And I want them to be able to be there for their family. And I want them to... Thank you. I want them to be able to have a life. I do. But the issue is no one has ever made them accountable before. I did. So the next part of this is I am getting harassed I wouldn't say harassed. I'm getting talked about, and narratives are being thrown around, and that's okay. That's okay. The evidence that was provided by them for me, thank you. I turned it in. I used it. I appreciate it. That was just one of the many things that went along with everything. I thought initially that the truth mattered. I see that people are going to spend whatever they want to spend. And that's okay. And after this live, I don't really care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody says, because here's the facts. There are now 5 documented misdemeanor domestic violence charges that initiated from a domestic violence. So if we don't see those DV charges labeled by the court, that's okay. But it happens. It happens that you don't get everything that you want. I didn't want maximum punishment, and just for everyone to understand, if it had been a felony, and now I'm getting all over the place because I don't even have my timeline, but this part I feel I don't need to, I can talk. I don't need to be worried about the details. But in Florida, if you have an assault and you cause this scar, which you can't see because of this wonderful filter, but see how it starts right here and it goes all the way up here? This scar alone would have been enough to convict on a felony. Charge and convict. In North Carolina, it was enough to charge. However, I have not been permanently diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury. I've not permanently been diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury. Have I had years of hell with my post-concussion syndrome? Oh, 100%. I thought I was going crazy. And I was dealing with this during all the post-separation abuse and the stalking and the messing with me and the slander and all that. I was dealing with head injury during this process. So I was losing my mind, number one, trying to stay sane. It's been a whole thing, okay? So it's not been easy. But I don't have, as of right now, a permanent documented traumatic brain injury. And yes, you can charge it as a misdemeanor or as a felony, but if it had gone to court, it was explained to me that because it can't be proven, like it can be in Florida. In Florida, all I need is the scar, okay? There is a possibility. Now, everybody hear me when everybody's saying she let him do this. First of all, I didn't want this man to spend the rest of his life in prison anyway. Hate me if you want, but that's not what I wanted for him. I just want him to get better and stay away from me and not hurt other people. So hate me all you want for feeling that way. I have every right to feel how I want to feel, okay? Now, maybe other victims that have had, maybe they want that, and they probably deserve that, okay? But for me, in my situation, I am about truth and accountability and documentation. And I got my justice the day I left and never went back. This life that I'm living right now, sitting out here in the morning and I'm dancing and singing with my kid and I can do whatever I want and I can talk on the phone and I don't have to worry about anything or anyone mistreating me or walking on eggshells. That is my justice, okay? That is my justice. I am not out here to punish anyone or hurt anybody or even speak negatively. This is only my one and done. Here's what happened. All this is true. This is why I did what I did. I've got my peace, okay? And I am letting it go and I'm letting him take accountability on record. On record. There's the accountability. It's over. Paula, you had to flee. Okay. And I understand that. And that was something else I didn't kind of recognize as domestic violence because I wasn't in so fear of my life that I was going to come home and get beat up every day. It wasn't like that. And never have I said that it was. But having to be on the phone constantly, being on FaceTimes, you know, when I'm at lunch and show me who's in the car. Who's in the car? Nobody's in the car. Why would I FaceTime you if somebody's in the car? Who are you? Why is your phone face down? You know, what things I'm wearing. When I started my new job with male coworkers, there's men around. I mean, it was the constant accusations, constantly. It will make you go crazy. And you can't live your life at all, okay? So there is just so much. There is so much that just makes you absolutely lose your mind. But that doesn't mean that I have to be in fear of my life to not want to be in that situation. So a lot of the judgment that I'm getting for, and that's what I was going to say, that felony assault with serious bodily injury only holds 10 to 41 months. So in North Carolina, all these charges that he was being charged with, you guys need to remember he's considered a first-time offender in North Carolina. North Carolina has a lot to work on as far as their laws and all of that, which I don't control, okay? I don't control those. So back to the felony assault with serious bodily injury. There is a likelihood that his attorney could have said that, yes, he did it. I mean, obviously, it's on video. I mean, we have proof that he did it. You know, there's medical records. There's everything. He did it. But it has to prove the level of misdemeanor or felony. You can charge it on a felony because it does have permanent injury, right? But in a trial that I probably would have spent 2 years fighting through, it could have very well been dismissed because there was no permanent brain damage, okay? That was a possibility. And what happens, I need everybody to hear me on this, when that happens, it is thrown out if it doesn't meet the label to meet that charge. It's thrown out. And when it gets thrown out, you can't recharge it again. And I was not okay with not having no accountability for the scar that I have to wear for the rest of my life. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry that you don't like that outcome. But I chose to go with the highest level misdemeanor when I was asked for my input. It wasn't my decision. Did I want to risk going to trial and a technicality, get it thrown out? No. If we went with the highest level misdemeanor, he would get accountability. It would be a conviction, hands down, no disputing it, right? No disputing it. So let me ask you that. What would you have chosen? You're wearing the scar for the rest of your life. He could face on a felony 10 to 41 months, right? 10 to 41 months. If it's even convicted, 10 to 41 months, and he might have done 5 months and the rest probation if he didn't get probation altogether on a felony, okay? Or risk it just being thrown out completely and it's gone forever. Or, and I'm asking for answers right now, would you have rather gone with the highest level misdemeanor and guaranteed conviction? I'm asking, so I'm reading the comments. And remember, they're only asking me my opinion. What you did. Agree with you. Okay, so it makes sense. Now, and that's what I'm saying, but the way it's the high misdemeanor, 100%. But those are the things that victims are faced with. Those are the realities that victims are faced with. And now I'm listening to people send me screenshots of these women that wanted support for Kat, but yet they wish they could hit me too. And if I end up in a body bag, it's my fault because I let him get away with it. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. I did what I could with what I had, okay? And yes, it's a plea. And let me explain that too. We talked about the 5 months, right? He might get 5 months. It could be probation. He could just do the time. So now we're down to a misdemeanor to guarantee it, right? A misdemeanor, the highest level misdemeanor is 150 days. 150 days. So that's 5 months. If you get convicted of it, he'd probably do half of it, okay? Or we could choose 12 months of supervised probation. Supervised probation. So think about it. So now in this total scheme of things, yeah, there's 5 guaranteed convictions because the 5 days that were spent in jail were not for any of those. It was from the probation violation from the original breaking my door down in 2024 because he was on unsupervised probation. He violated that with all of these new charges, so he had to serve 5 days for them to terminate that unsupervised, and now he's on 18 months of supervised. But let me explain something to you all. This is 18 months, so of supervised, which Texas the supervision is more like prison on the street, so prison at home, okay? So here's what's going on. So if he would have gotten, say, we were hell-bent on jail time, 150 days, okay? First-time offender, it's up to the judge if he wants to impose it or do probation, or have him do half of it, like 2 months, and then probation the rest of the time. But what I got, okay, so, and so if they just serve their time and go, okay, if they just serve their time and go, that's gone. They move to another state, they get pulled over, they do this crime again, the police get called with some kind of domestic disturbance, they know nothing. They know nothing because that person just did time. It's done and closed, right? There's no probation, there's no nothing. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, you're supposed to be a survivor, you're supposed to, speak up and make him accountable, and now he's just on probation. Do you realize what that probation does? That probation gives 2 years that if he is ever pulled over or police are called to that residence ever, and he gives them their name, they see everything he's on probation for in a whole nother state. They see everything he's done in another state. That is the problem that we have in this country. People can do these things and move to different states and they're first-time offenders, or they can't even see what's going on in other states. if this ever happens to you, make sure that you make sure there's probation over jail time, because that probation is going to make them accountable in a different state. The officers and the police are going to be able to see why they're on probation, and they're going to take it seriously, versus just doing 3 months in jail and being done with it like it never even happened. And most offenders would rather just do the time and be done with it, so it's not a black cloud following them around. So truly, it is protecting the next woman if there were to be an incident. Because if she calls the police, it's going to be taken seriously. And we're like, wait a minute, this person's on probation for stalking, assault with serious bodily injury, domestic criminal trespass, breaking and entering at the victim's house. They're going to be able to see all of it, you guys. So think about that when you are, don't be vengeful and just, I think a lot of people, and the people that are hating on me, they just want vengeance. I don't want vengeance. I want people protected. I want people to change. I want accountability. I want documentation. And I have no hate for this person whatsoever, even though I've been put through hell since when we got together and since I said I'm done on January 25th, 2025. Hell. Okay, and now I've got whole hate groups that are, but I don't care about that, because now my truth is documented. My experience is documented. And this man has moved on, as it appears, and has let it go. And I hope he is going to be respectful that I, for once, was able to speak my truth. But I've done it respectfully, without naming him, without tagging him. I've made, 400 people make sure that they don't do that as well. So let me put it on record, I am showing them respect. And if they're taking accountability and moving on with their life and hopefully changing, then they deserve that respect. But my respect comes from just my character as well, and just a lot of the situation being different from what others have experienced with him. I didn't have to experience a lot. I think I certainly did experience the most post-separation abuse because of the public piece of it and how public everything is. But people can make mistakes. People can change, and I hope they do. I have enough accountability on record with the probation, with the convictions. And I've had other women reach out to me in the past that, like I said, apologize for not coming forward. And I want to make sure if someone reaches out to me, it's to thank me for coming forward. Maybe even pulling up North Carolina public record now, where they can see that there's this person has had some concerns. So if they're experiencing those red flags that I had, and if I had seen this, I would have ran for the hills 100%. So maybe it will protect them before they even get to that level. And maybe it'll encourage other women to come forward. But if you do come forward in your situation, understand, people are going to think they should get years in prison. They should do all this. And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You have to look at the overall goal of what you want to happen. And I guess when people want vengeance, I'm like, well, what good does that do? Like, what accountability should be the number one and documentation for me. I'm not going to say what other women should want or not want, because a lot of the women in my group, my healing group, they have been through worse abuse than I could even imagine. And if I had been through that, I probably would want them to have life in prison. But that wasn't my experience. It was hell. I mean, it was 100% hell, no doubt about it. During the relationship, well, not so much in the beginning, but there was definitely issues. But the last year, the names I was called, the things that was said to me about my neck, about me droopy, about how ugly I was, how fat I was, how nobody would want me, how I was a WHORE going to work, I couldn't even go to Walmart without them telling the kids that I was in the Walmart section with a man. I was in the auto parts section. I had to be on the phone with my best friend all the time so she could report accurately of my whereabouts. But I don't need life in prison for that. I needed to get away, and I got away. And you can too. You can do it, but it's not going to be how you foresee it unless you educate yourself and you talk to other survivors and you talk to people that are going through it and then went through the court system. And by the way, I've never once mentioned that I am an advocate, and I am just a woman who is telling my story, and I wasn't telling my story until now. But I am just someone who has gone through it. It finally ended last Friday. I've got a long way to go. Oh, wow. Why do we have so many people in here still? Anyway, I'm not going to do a 5-hour live like I did the one time back in October. But I know I didn't get started till around 9:15 because we were waiting for everybody to come in. So, Lori, what are we at when I started at 9:15? But yeah, that's just what I wanted to say. I wanted to talk about the physical abuse that was there for sure, and my scar that will stay with me for the rest of my life. But I think the emotional abuse and the verbal abuse will stay with me a lot longer. And from a lot of the women that I talk to, I think forever. But now there's accountability where there wasn't before. So I just hope that people understand that all this is in the documentation. All that I didn't decide that I was going to plea it down. And first of all, the assault with serious bodily injury was never charged as a felony. They decided they weren't going to do that because we didn't want to risk, and I was in agreement. I didn't want to risk it being thrown out. And all these people, 250 people, agree that they would have done the same thing. So when you hear about the situation that you're faced with, you have to make a choice with what you have. And again, my point wasn't ultimate punishment either. It was documentation. And documentation if anything were to happen to me, and documentation if anything were to happen to somebody else. And I got that. Times 5. So, I know that they took the plea. They didn't have to take the plea. We could have went to trial. And the felony could have gotten thrown out if I couldn't prove permanent injury or the great attorney had a technicality. So even though we didn't make him take the plea, but obviously it was a smart decision for him because with the evidence that everyone gets to see the evidence. With the evidence, it wasn't a smart decision. Probably. I mean, I gave the evidence, so I'm just thinking it probably wasn't a smart decision to go to trial, and just hope that it was on a technicality where I hope that it wasn't a technicality. So it's meeting in the middle. It's, it's a misdemeanor. It's the highest level misdemeanor. It is domestic violence. It is on the record for life. It is there. The other charges, breaking and entering, that's on video too. That was a misdemeanor. He didn't hurt me when he came in, so it wasn't a felony charge level. And then the stalking, that was a plea that I really didn't have. I knew they were doing a plea. I think some of it too was they wanted this just to be done and over and probation supervised to be in place as quickly as possible probably, or some kind of consequences right away versus waiting 2 years for a trial. I don't know why they chose to do that. The evidence certainly supported a felony because he was already on probation when he committed all these acts, so it already. And if you go to the PDF files in the actual Winston-Salem Forsyth County Judicial, you can Google Winston-Salem Forsyth County Judicial Courts and go to hearings and pull up their name if you know who it is. And we are not talking about I'm talking to the people that want answers that are relating to my case and want to know that I'm telling the truth. if they're being misled to believe that, you know, the sentence was time served. No, it wasn't. The only time served was 5 days for a probation violation. The other 150 days, 150 days, 150 days are on there. Those are in lieu of probation. And if there's another violation, hold on, Lucas, I'm reading. Okay. If there's another violation, then he'll have to serve all those things. But the 5 days was only for a probation violation. So there's 18 months. I thought it was 2 years, but it might be 18 months. I don't know. But there's documentation. If anything happens in the next 18 months, then there is someone that anyone will be able to see it that's involved in that situation and see what has happened here and hopefully be able to protect somebody. So those are why I made the decisions that I made. And again, they weren't mine fully to make. I gave my opinion of, okay, yeah, I guess I'd have to be okay with that. Okay, all right, well, that's fair. Oh, that's good that, you know, if anything happens, that's actually more supervision than if he were just to get 3 months for that misdemeanor, you know, or 150 days or whatever. This actually extends it out for almost 2 years of. So you just have to be involved in the situation, and you need to ask these questions if you're going to file charges. And by the way, I had the worst experience ever with civil hearing. I would never do that myself again. It doesn't offer the protection of the victim that the court does with the criminal side. So I dismissed my civil case and decided to go criminal. And that's really when I made that transition, was when, you know, they try to subpoena. They can subpoena just about anything, and I'm not subpoenaing my private conversations with my best friend. I mean, I'm not giving that up. So, you know, not if it's not relevant to the case. And it wasn't relevant to the case. But in civil court, you don't have as much protection as a victim, versus because you're the one pursuing. And it was just too much for me. And I thought, you know what, if this is where we're at and how it's going to happen, then we're just going to go criminal. We're just going to let the state handle it. That's what I thought. I don't know what the question was. I'm reading. I almost said sass. Oh my God, I almost said sass. Did Martina pass out? Did she go to sleep? She probably did, didn't she? You still, girl. So yeah, so that's when, you know, enough was enough. And I finally pressed charges after saying, if you don't stop, I will. And it didn't stop. Eating my popcorn. You need to stop. This is why she's not here. Because some people are not as forgiving as I. And I am aware of that. And sometimes I don't like that about myself, but I want to be more like Martina and Connie sometimes, I will say. I admire them because they don't care what anybody thinks. I do. So, but that's all I really want to say about this, is try not to judge women that have been in this situation. Try not to. And also too, I want to say this too, when you are getting slandered, when you are getting harassed, even in post-separation abuse, and I know Barbie, whatever her name is, I can't recall her name. Hey, Kat, have you been in here the whole time? Oh, I hope so. But I do want to encourage you to, and I've had some great friends along the way that have been detectives, in their years prior, and have really helped me stay strong and helped me stay grounded. And I've had some of you send me some awesome music, and know that I have that on repeat all the time. So music is my therapy. It is how I get through everything. So thank you all for that. And I know there's so many of you that see what's being said about me and don't agree, and you choose not to engage, as I would not engage, and I appreciate you for that. I appreciate you for reading the documents, seeing the facts, knowing that time was not served, knowing that I didn't drop the charges. I gave my opinion, and I'm glad that most of you agree. I didn't see one no that I would have risked it. I will. So I just appreciate everybody's support. I know I have a lot more support than I do haters. I know that. So let me end with this. So if you're going through it, and they're slandering you, and you're saying all these things about you, and they're doing all these things, don't clap back. Don't clap back, because don't make lives about them. Don't engage in it. Don't engage in it, because when it comes to court, that is what's going to protect you. I have stayed consistent, and I can heal out loud and heal respectfully and not mention them and not mention specifics, and I can do all that, and I could if I wanted to. I was never in a no contact order, by the way, never. I could have called them up if I wanted to. I didn't, obviously, but I was under no gag order, no, I was going to say non-compete, that's my job, but nothing restraining me but my character and God, and good, loyal people, and my faith that, God will prevail. What's supposed to happen will happen, but our job is to do the best that we can do in our character and be the best people that we can be. And me attacking that person, and embarrassing them and their family, that doesn't help my situation. It doesn't change what happened, right? So I want my daughter and people that I care about and other victims to watch how I carried myself through this, and I hope that they can do the same, because I got the convictions. It might not have been exactly how people think that they should have been, but the documentation is there, the convictions are there. My story was heard. My story is documented. And I can go on now, and I didn't think this live would help me. I thought, why am I doing this? But I feel so much better now, because I don't care who believes it and who doesn't, because they can pull up the court records, and they can see it for themselves. But I do hope that moving forward, everyone understands how complicated the justice system is. And if you want to be mad at anybody, be mad at the system to change the laws. And I know that the officers that helped me, the DA, the Hope Center, that's the domestic violence Hope Center that's downtown, everybody was so supportive. So there is so much support. The people will definitely protect you, and the people and the professionals will advise you. So listen to them. Listen to them. But the laws themselves, they are only there to uphold the laws. They can't do anything about them. They have to uphold the laws. So if anybody's angry, you're angry that you didn't get the outcome you wanted for my situation, which is odd to me, but how you're praying for me the day before court to then saying that you hope I end up in a body bag, or that you wish you could hit me, I'm just going to pray for you, because that is pretty scary. The anger should be directed at the laws and changing those laws, so that when these things happen, there is more accountability, and it is serious. And do more like Tennessee. Let's raise hell about getting the law that's in Tennessee for the DV domestic violence database. Let's raise hell on that to get that in other states, including Texas and Michigan and all the other places that they need to be that they're not. Tennessee is the only place that has it. And fun fact, if you're not on probation for DV, if you're not on probation, and your abuser gets pulled over in a different state than where it happened, they have no idea. They have no idea. It's going to be he said, she said. They have no idea that, hey, this person has a history. They have no idea. Sorry. So direct your anger towards them. That's where the anger needs to, well, not direct it towards them, but direct it towards making laws change. Verbal, yeah, abuse is abuse. I am seeing a lot too about narcissistic abuse, coercive control starting to somehow be a charge in somewhere. I think it's Virginia. Oh, absolutely, 100%. I think that you can, be manipulated and verbally and emotionally abused to the point where you take your own life. Thank God I didn't do it, but I was there. And it was my abuser that grabbed the gun from me to save my life. Yeah, make it make sense. Make it make sense. So, anyway, thank you all for listening to me. I am out. I started at 9:09. I'm ending at 11:09. I wanted to stay on and talk a little bit more and answer some questions, and really engage with you guys. But if you have any questions, if you want to continue engaging, since you've heard my story in its entirety, for the most part, I left out a whole lot, just out of respect for myself, them, and our families combined. But if you do want to connect, and you are genuine and not a hater or a misunderstander, maybe let's not call them haters, let's call them misunderstanders. But if you want to have some additional support, I do have a website. It's called healingstartswithleaving.com, and it's spelled just like it sounds, healingstartswithleaving.com. You can go there for to read more about other. You can post your story on there anonymously if you want to talk about it, but you don't want your name attached to it. You can go on there for resources, or just kind of learning about what helped us as women. This is not an advocate group. We don't do any of that. We're not professionals. We're just women who have been through it, share our experiences, and maybe some of what we've been through can help you. That's it. So no one's claiming to be, I'm a survivor and I'm here to advocate for other women. No, I'm here to tell you my story because one of the reasons I'm here, one of the reasons I recognized it as an abuse is because I saw women on TikTok talking about all the experiences, the delusions, the walking on eggshells, the being scared of, you can't have men in your house to fix anything, so everything's broken because they can't fix it, and you can't have a man over here to fix it. I heard the one lady say that, and I was like, oh my God, I had a door broke down for 9 months, because nobody could come in and fix it, and they didn't know how to fix it the right way. So, all these things started making sense, and I'm like, narcissism. A family member of theirs mentioned it to me, and I just kind of blew it off. So it's because of people talking about it that we recognize our own situations and can see it for what it is. So please keep talking about it. And so if you want more information, it's healingstartswithleaving.com. I also have a private Facebook group. I would recommend that you would reach out to Lori. Lori, will you pin something up there? I guess you can pin healingstartswithleaving.com. So you can go there, and from there you can get the link on the contacts page to our private Facebook group of just women supporting other women, talking about what we've been through. We are not advocates. We are not professionals. We are just a bunch of women who have been through hell. And we want to talk about it amongst people that understand it, because everyone will tell you, thank you, Lori. Everyone will tell you if you haven't experienced it, you will not understand it. Point blank. End of story. That's all there is to it. So we feel most comfortable talking amongst ourselves because we get it, and we share memes and and reels in there all the time, and we're like, yes, oh my gosh, yes, the likes are on it and everything, because we feel it. You know, and it makes us feel heard and validated, and you'll hear well, if you talk about healing, then you're whining or you're playing the victim. But in there, we can talk about it all day long. We're not going to get on each other's nerves. So if you need a place like that, you can go to the website, look at all the links. There's also in that website a bunch of creators, and I've been so consumed with all this, I haven't even focused on my life. But on that healingstartswithleaving.com, in the resources or the contacts, you'll see a bunch of, and all our social medias are there too, but you'll see a bunch of creators that I found that really helped me see what narcissism is, what cognitive dissonance is, what, trauma bond is. It was through them that I realized what was happening, that it wasn't love, that I wasn't going back because it was this crazy deep connection of love. It was being conditioned. It's the roller coaster of up and downs that my brain and the cortisol and everything, it got so used to having, and it felt like I was going to die if I wasn't with this man. What? Yeah. Needless to say, I do not feel like that now. I am back to my old self and my self-worth, and I struggle. Martina will tell you I struggle. I have my days where I struggle. I have eliminated a lot of friendships. I have found boundaries for the first time in 50 years because I started valuing myself and respecting myself. So I didn't just get myself back from before that relationship. I am finally who I'm happy being. You know what I mean? I'm happy in my life. I'm happy I can focus now on my career, which is going amazing. I can focus on Ella. I can focus on all the projects I have going on that I am so procrastinating on. But I can get back to my life. How's your daughter after all? My daughter is super proud of me. Now, she was very upset that she didn't go to court. She wanted very much for him to know that she did not want any contact with him, that it wasn't me making her not have contact. She wanted very much for him to know that, well, he was never mean to her, and he was not, which is odd because most people in this situation, they are mean to the children. We were very fortunate that never happened, but she wanted to stand up in court and say, while he didn't hurt me, he hurt my mom, and that hurt me. And she wanted to read her letter, and we knew that, we knew the outcome pretty much in court, and they just didn't feel like it was probably the best situation to have her in. But they did agree, the DA agreed to meet with her. We'll have a meeting and where he can thank her for being strong and helping mommy stand up. And she's went through all this too, and that's the other thing she was going to say. She had to live through all this. She had to watch mom cry and break and heal, and she lost her mom for a couple years, I will say, but she's got her back. I'm still healing. I'm still a work in progress. I am still really emotional. I'm still anxious. I'm still cautious. Am I in the situation that most women are in? No. But when things get dysregulated or crazy things happen or courts going on, then yeah, I'm on high alert. But other than that, I just want to get back to being me now that this is over. And that's the other thing too. It's over. Do you think I really wanted to go through 2 years of court just to get probation? No. I mean, you guys, you just need to understand the laws of your state, and it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And I hope your outcome is whatever you want it to be. But I hope that you can stay kind in the process. I hope that you can lead by example, and that people attacking you to attack them back doesn't make you any better. You know what I mean? It doesn't make you any better. So, and it's not easy. I have wanted to clap back. I have messaged Connie and said a few times, I'm about to pull a Connie. Like, that's where I'm at. But no, we stay grounded. We stay grounded. We're better than that. We're better than them. We're better than those behaviors. And we need to model who our character is. We're not going to let anyone else affect our character. So keep that in mind no matter what you're going through. And remember, it's going to help you in court. It's going to help you in court. Just stay quiet. Just stay quiet. And one day you will be able to tell your story, like I am doing today, and, you know, still be respectful. One thing I told the judge was that you can have accountability. I've had to learn that you can have accountability and compassion at the same time. Because I always associated accountability with hurt and vengeance. And it's not. It's accountability with compassion. It's compassion for yourself. It's compassion for the women coming after you. So, anyway, the truth will set you free. It feels so good. And I think I did really well. I think I did well it's my truth, so it probably isn't going to make people happy. It doesn't show people in the best of light, but I tried to do the best I could. But it's my story, and if they're a part of it, how they're reflected is not my part in it. Does that make sense? Thank you, Debbie. All right, well, you guys have a good night. My back hurts, and I will talk to you later. And I'm not going to be live anymore. I don't like this. This is not fun for me. As you know, I never go live. I don't like it. It's not fun. I know that y'all love it, but I'm not there. Maybe after all the dust settles and nobody knows who I'm talking about, then we can go on here and talk about healing and all those good things. But if you want to communicate with me, I recommend you just kind of do that in our private group, and you can find it through the website. And moderator unpinned a comment. What, was there a comment? Oh, reach out to Kara. Yeah, reach out to Lori or reach out to me. You'll probably have better luck reaching out to Lori, and then she'll get you connected to the website. Yeah, so, but yeah, I don't like the lives. I'm not a, but you can talk to me privately if you need to, or go to the website, find the group. There's a bunch of us in there that you can get a lot of encouragement from, validation from, or just people that will listen and not judge you. So, everybody have a good night, and please be kind, and just don't be ugly. And now that you know the facts, we don't need to keep rehashing them. We don't need to keep talking about them. I just needed to be heard. For the first time ever, I needed to be heard. So try to keep it to yourself. Try not to pick it up and run with it. And the accountability has been taken. And I am okay with it as the victim. So I'm asking you to be okay with it, and let's move on and let everybody live their lives in peace, and let's hope that there is change. So, all right, bye.